Kodak was everywhere until it vanished. In its heyday, Eastman Kodak controlled roughly 80% of the US photographic film market and became one of the America's largest companies. The name Kodak meant snapshots and family memories. Yet, in 2012, this century-old giant filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. How did a company that taught the world to take pictures implode? In this video, we peel back the layers from Kodak's dazzling rise to its fatal mistakes and the lessons for every business to learn.
The Kodak Gold 3 400-speed film. After the sun has gone down, 100-speed films often give you ordinary flash photos. But Kodak Gold 400 film has the extra flexibility to capture more of your moments in clear, natural color. Kodak Gold 400-speed film. Extra flexibility for better results.
We will trace Kodak's journey, how George Eastman's vision built an empire, how Kodak dominated 20th century, and how it ultimately stumbled. We will spotlight the pivotal moments, its innovations, its market peak, and the fateful decision not to embrace digital. Finally, we will ask what today's companies can learn from Kodak's mistakes. By the end, you will see why no market leader is too big to fail. The story begins in 1880 in Rochester, New York, where young inventor George Eastman wanted to make photography an everyday affair. Back then, cameras were huge and complex. A trip to the tropics required a tent full of chemicals and glass plates. Eastman set out to simplify this. By 1881, he founded the Eastman Dry Plate Company, later called Eastman Kodak, and mass-produced photographic film and cameras. In 1888, he launched the first Kodak box camera, a handheld preloaded camera that took 100 exposures. After shooting, users sent the entire camera back to Kodak's Rochester lab for developing a new film, all for $10. This "you press the button, we do the rest" approach was revolutionary. Eastman even coined that slogan himself, and it soon became famous worldwide. In essence, Kodak gave the world its first snapshot cameras. By turning snapshots into an easy consumer product, Kodak created an entirely new industry. In just a few years, the brand Kodak and its smiling Kodak girl model became household names, symbolizing the magic of photography. Throughout the 20th century, Kodak ruled photography. Its films and cameras captured both everyday life and Hollywood history. Kodak literally put the world on film. In the 1920s, they invented movie film with soundtracks supplying Hollywood studios for decades. Advertisements celebrated Kodak Moments, the perfect snapshot, which became an idiom for life's memorable occasions. The business numbers were staggering too. By mid-century, Kodak had become a multi-billion-dollar giant. For example, Kodak's sales crossed $10 billion in 1981. It employed over 100,000 people and supplied film for movie premieres, political events, and personal milestones. At its peak, Kodak controlled about 80% of the US film market and roughly half the global market. In other words, nearly every photograph was on Kodak film. It was the undisputed king of film. Throughout the 20th century, Kodak's brand promise stayed the same: simple, dependable photography. Its famous slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest," in 1888 became as iconic as the product itself. By the 1970s, Kodak Moments was a household phrase, and the company was consistently among the world's largest corporations. But its greatness harbored a hidden irony. It invented the digital camera before anyone else. In 1975, Kodak engineer Steve Sasson built the world's first portable digital camera about the size of a toaster. He captured a crude black and white image, proof of concept for filmless photography. But Kodak's leadership panicked. Management saw digital as a threat to Kodak's core film business. As Sasson recalled, the reaction was, "That's cute, but don't tell anyone about it." Kodak shelved the project. Meanwhile, others leapt forward. Japanese and American companies like Sony, Canon, and Nikon embraced digital tech in the 1990s. They developed smaller, faster digital cameras as consumer electronics, not chemicals. Kodak did make some digital cameras in the 1990s, but saw them as a niche. Film for pros, digital for fun was the attitude. As one business analyst notes, Kodak chose not to pursue digital imaging, erroneously betting that film would remain dominant for decades. By the early 2000s, the world had moved on. In 2004, digital camera sales overtook film. Consumers wanted pixels, not prints. Kodak's market share shrank fast. For example, by the end of 2010, Kodak's US digital camera market share was only 7%, ranking it 7th behind Canon, Sony, Nikon, and others. Kodak still emphasized film and printers even as rivals raced ahead in digital photography. Leadership inertia compounded the problem. Kodak stopped R&D on new film in 2003, effectively conceding its core business. These decisions cost Kodak dearly. Its once iconic products like Kodachrome film lingered far too long. Kodachrome wasn't discontinued until 2006, by which time consumers had largely gone digital. It kept downplaying digital flaws and clinging to the belief that real photographers would never give up film. But as magazines and national headlines began noting Kodak's stumbles, investors grew uneasy. The final act came in the 2000s. Kodak's financial decline was dramatic. After decades of profits, 2007 was Kodak's last profitable year. Losses piled up, pensions became a massive burden, and consumers simply stopped buying film. On January 19, 2012, Eastman Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, ending 131 years as an independent behemoth. The company then carried about $6.75 billion of debt, much of it in retiree pension obligations. Kodak tried to pivot in bankruptcy, but the damage was already done. In its restructuring, Kodak sold off assets and refocused. By 2013, it emerged as a much smaller company focused on commercial printing and imaging solutions, no longer the consumer camera and film giant. It shifted towards high-speed digital printers and packaging technology. Kodak even sold about 1,100 of its digital patents during bankruptcy to raise cash, fetching far less than expected. Old dreams of reviving film were over. Its famous Super 8 film camera was briefly reintroduced for nostalgia, but never regained mass market traction. By the 2010s, Kodak was a shadow of its former self. Its revenue, which once reached $19 billion in the 1990s, fell to only a few hundred million. A century-old icon has been gutted. Kodak's fall holds hard lessons for all companies. Embrace disruption, don't fear it. Kodak invented digital photography but feared it. Ignoring that innovation was fatal. Don't let your current profits blind you. It protected film profits even as the world moved on. Waiting too long to cannibalize its own business was disastrous. Complacency is deadly. No market leader is safe. Its story shows that even the most dominant firms can plummet if they fail to innovate. These lessons echo in many modern stories. For example, Blockbuster dismissed streaming, and Netflix wound up owning home entertainment, and Nokia ignored smartphones until it was too late. As analysts conclude, the downfalls of Kodak, Blockbuster, and Nokia all underscore a common theme. Failure to adapt to changing environments can lead to catastrophic outcomes. In other words, innovate or die. Companies must be willing to disrupt themselves before others do. Kodak's saga is a powerful reminder that no empire is too big to fail. The brand that once branded our lives with memories couldn't save itself from disruption. Now it's your turn. What modern day companies could be on the brink? Comment below your thoughts. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe and check out our video on the rise and fall of Starbucks.